Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the fact that it is showing some signs of life here. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Also check out the sale on the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below as well. Let's go ahead and jump in. So it's been a few days since we've talked about Bitcoin, and we followed Bitcoin's run very closely, and we noted how it was more or less holding this short-term 8-week SMA as support, okay? And this is where we've been holding support forever up until mid-April, and we finally fell below, okay? And we also looked at this on the daily time frame, and we discussed the areas of bounces and whatnot. And when we're in that bull market phase, we've seen plenty of bounces off the 20-day SMA, and when we get bounces, they can lead to 15 to 25% moves back up. Here was a bounce off the 20-day, here was a bounce off the 20-day, and the nice thing though with going below the 20-day is it doesn't necessarily mean we're about to dump. It just means that bounce is not immediately coming, okay? And when we hold the 20-day, we tend to move up relatively quickly by about 15 to 20% or so. Right now, Bitcoin is back above the 20-day SMA. However, note the 20-day SMA right now is moving down, and it's currently at 54,865. Okay, now, other times, we actually went down to the 50-day SMA, okay? And this was a little bit of a longer-term moving average, not super long-term, but we had a bounce off the 50-day there. We had a bounce off the 50-day there. And that was our support for a long time. So if we look at, say, the 20-day, you can see we were more or less staying above it until December. The 50-day, we stayed above it until April. Okay, so we really didn't decisively break below the 50-day until April. And then the 100-day, we've still have been holding support all the way, even if you include this as holding support. I mean, the last time we were below it was back in April of 2020. Okay, so Bitcoin has been relatively bullish for a long time. So going back to the 100-day, you can see that the time to break that one, we still haven't really done it yet in any meaningful way. So the 20-day to break that one, it was starting from, say, somewhere over here, it took us through December until we broke it. The 50-day was through April, and then the 100-day, we don't yet know. We did speculate that we might get a nice bounce off the 100-day, and it seems like more or less so far that is what's happened, and we have moved up from the 100-day. Now you should note that the 100-day SMA now is coming in at 52,433. Okay, so that's where the 100-day SMA is right now. Now, if we go look at the 200-day SMA, it's a lot lower, and it's currently at 37,625. So I'm sure we'll test this at some point in the future. But if history is any indication, then the exact time frame we tested, it could be several weeks or maybe even months away before we test the 200-day SMA. Now, it's also important that we discuss our bull market support band. We are going to be coming up on another week here in a couple days, and so we'll be able to discuss the implications of that and where the 20-week SMA ends up. Right now, we're looking at a 20-week SMA of 47,554, and the 21-week EMA is at 46,448. Note that we did have a cross of these two moving averages, which historically has meant it doesn't take that many more weeks or months until we actually test the 20-week. You can see we had a cross here, and it actually happened on the cross. In other moves, we've had crosses afterwards, and we tested it relatively quickly. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not even that far away. Okay, the 20 week's not that far away. And we are moving up relatively quickly. I mean, look at the 20 week. Again, it's only about $10,000 below where we currently are, and it's moving up relatively quickly. If we were to take a measured move and look to see where we were 20 weeks ago, we can see that Bitcoin was at 23,000. So if we were to let's just say we're at 60K and subtract out, say, 20K, that leaves 40K, and you take 1/20th of that, that's about $2,000. So the the 20-week SMA is going to be moving up by approximately $2,000, and that's what it has been moving up by for a long time. So in a couple days, we're going to likely be flirting with close, probably not quite there. It depends on what Bitcoin does between now and the end of the week. But the price of Bitcoin, the 20-week SMA, I should say, is likely getting close, but maybe not quite reaching $50,000 by the end of the week. Okay. And when you sort of zoom out and look at what Bitcoin has done, it's easy to get taken away by all these new all-time highs and whatnot. But what I see so far is a long sideways movement, right? These are new all-time highs from here to here to here. However, I think that the next market cycle, when we're looking back at this one, we'll look at this and say, all right, that was some sideways movement. Okay. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to necessarily break up or down. There are periods where we go sideways for a while, we break down and then go up, or sometimes we just go straight up. But I don't know that, we're in the future, we're going to look at this and rave about these very, very slight all-time highs, because they were only just that, slight improvements on what we had already seen, from 58K to 61K to 64K. Okay, so they hadn't even been improving that much. And if we were to come back up to, say, this trend line here, maybe we'll see it go up to closer to 70K. But what I will say too is that in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of the market cycle, I still contend that time is very much on our side. And I know a lot of you don't even own Bitcoin because you prefer to just go with the altcoins because you see it as a higher ROI. My argument against it is having Bitcoin is also protects you from the downside risk. And so there's a lot of reasons to hold Bitcoin, not just because it does have potential upside, but also because it protects you against the potential downside risk. And so when we're looking at Bitcoin, we sort of have to recognize this as potentially, to me, this does not look like a market cycle top, right? It just does not look like a market cycle top. Now, I'm not going to say it can't be a local top where we can't go above for a while, and maybe we do go back down below 50K or something. There's always a decent chance of that happening, of course. But at the end of the day, when we talk about market cycle tops, this does not look like at least it doesn't look like a textbook market cycle top. I mean, you don't really see market cycle tops go to a new all-time high in February and then do it again in March and then do it again in April and then dump 85%. Okay, that it doesn't typically work out like that. So you can look at prior market cycle tops and realize how crazy it is, because it's just basically straight up and then straight back down. It's not any of this nonsense where it moves sideways for several months in a row. Now, I will always contend at the end of the day that yes, we could always go back down, and I personally would not mind us testing the 20-week SMA. I mean, I would not mind it. At the same time, some of us are getting gray hairs waiting for the 20-day SMA, and so with Bitcoin, when you're sort of navigating these markets and you're watching altcoins skyrocket and put in great returns, one of the questions I often get is, well, when should you take profits? One thing to consider is not only can you take profits to stablecoins, but if you want to maintain exposure to the market in a market where it seems like in the grand scheme of the cycle, time is on our side, yes, there's going to be dips, you could also take profits back to Bitcoin. That way you maintain some of your potential upside, but while also mitigating some of the downside risk. And again, deterministic thinking is not great, but I cannot imagine Bitcoin not going to 100K at some point later this cycle. I have no idea what's going to happen between now and 100K. I mean, we could go back down 30% from here, 40% from here before going up to 100K, or we could just go straight there. What I will say is I do think we will make it to 100K. And so one way to navigate these markets, if you're constantly speculating tons of money on altcoins, you could sometimes take profits back to Bitcoin to maintain exposure to the market while also protecting yourself from the downside risk. It's funny because whenever Bitcoin goes sideways, we see altcoins really start to move. Whenever Bitcoin starts to move up itself, the rest of the market will kind of sit and watch. Okay, so Bitcoin, I've always said this, it should be for me anyways, it should be, I should always try to make an effort to have it be the majority of my portfolio. Okay, the majority. And it might sound crazy. It might sound crazy when you're watching altcoins go up. Yeah, but when the bear market hits, you'll understand why. Regardless, I think everyone should be doing quite well right now. We'll keep an eye on Bitcoin. We have a ways to go before it can put in a new all-time high. From the current prices, it needs to go up another, like 15, not even 15%, maybe around 10, because I mean it has gone up a lot today, a little over 10%. So if Bitcoin goes up maybe 11% or so from the current valuation, we would be looking at a new all-time high. I certainly don't think that's going to happen today, but at the very least, we can see that this is some level of sideways movement. And if you look at, say, the 20-day SMA for Bitcoin, a lot of times one of the ways you can best characterize sideways movements are just constant dips below the 20-day and then going back above the 20-day and then below the 20-day and then above the 20-day and then below the 20-day and then above the 20-day. This is what sideways movement looks like. I mean, it's just the definition of it. It's not anything that crazy. It's just the definition of it. And if you go look at the last cycle during some of the reaccumulation phases after it moved up, there are plenty of periods where it just moved sideways for a while and would go above the 20-day and then below it and then above it and then below it. And it would just keep doing it for a while. And then eventually it would break out to a new all-time high, and then we would just continue playing the game. Okay, so the game seems like it's continuing to go on. Keep an eye on Bitcoin. If it gets too bullish, then it's likely going to suck up some profits from the other, from the altcoins that we follow. If it stays below its prior all-time high and keeps trending sideways, then there's a decent probability that the Bitcoin dominance continues to drop. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, there's the bull market sale on the premium list. Check it out, lock in the lower rate. You can find a link to that in the description below. Make sure you guys check that out. You'll understand how I'm navigating the markets. You'll get access to the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the Instant Cryptoverse app, and more. So check that out in the description below. Subscribe to the channel at the very least. Let's go for 365,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.